Annie and the Alistar now taken away, two champions that I think were really, really pivotal throughout those series, and Alistar has been growing in priority when we talk about supports, and two champions that we'll track as to whether or not they'll get through, the Poppy and the Kiana taken away now.
The Kiana is interesting to me as Beishuan only has one play on it. I feel like top with Kanavi can threaten that a bit more, but Elk gets his hands on his Yunara. Has been a very strong champion for him when BLG has been able to play it, but they give away the Azir Talia trade, at least, so the Azir side goes to Creme. We'll note that in the upper bracket series, Knight's Azir game was a free win for BLG. So switching up the side of that matchup, and now Creme gonna pilot the Azir.
It's interesting. I do want to bring up, we saw Knight innovate this Azir matchup in Split 3, going towards the Ziggs counter pick. It was a huge counter pick to shut down the Azir that you guys talked about. He knows very well. So, yes, the Talia is still there and available, but Knight has not been afraid to pick this kind of unique champion to him to try and match up against this Azir. Kanavi, though, going to lock in that Pantheon, as he always likes to do. He wants to play early, fast, and try and get himself a lead as quickly as possible. Pantheon really fits that bill.
I feel bad for Cubby.
Well, I'm kind of surprised about this opener, before we talk about feeling bad for me, but I think that the ability for Azir Pantheon to attack a Yunara is very real and kind of difficult for BLG to deal with early on in drafts. I mean, Aurora's not going to stop that. Vi's not going to stop that. So I think this Yunara is going to be under heavy threat early.
Yunara also, I think, a pretty decent takeaway from JackeyLove, but I was wondering if we were going to get more Wukong. We came into the playoffs thinking that Wukong was going to be king of the jungle. Seems like he's still lagging behind, especially in the first couple openers of the games. We'll see what BLG are going to choose on 3. It seems like they are going to lock in the Monkey King himself. And I think the Aurora is interesting as a way to circumnavigate the front line here, especially if we're going to get a Scion and a Pantheon. But I think you're right here, Cubby. The low range and kind of squishy nature of BLG makes it very easy for this Azir to thrive.
I really like this draft for top so far. I think the ability to attack the Yunara is very real. And Scion showing, you're not going to throw a Trundle at it here. You get to ban Gwen if you're worried about that from Bin too. Another kind of hard answer for Scion. I don't think Gwen even fits the comp though, so they're not even worried about it. And yeah, I think the opener of the top got's really good. I think the interesting part moving forward is some of these pairings got split up. Like, part of why we thought Wukong would be the best jungler on the patch is because it pairs so well with champs like Annie, like Azir, like Talia, that are some of the best mids that we have. Wukong has now been removed from that pairing, ends up being paired up with Aurora, a pick that Knight plays very well, as we expect this to be in Knight's hands. But I don't think the answers that BLG are going to come up with here, I think they're really far behind in this draft already. And I don't see, like, how many tools can you find in top and in support to actually help peel for this Yunara? I think that's going to be a really tough task early on.
I think, you know what's going to be an easy task? I think is picking a marksman for JackeyLove here. You talk about the front line already put together, a lot of space creating. Karma Band is very good, but I think JackeyLove, I mean, there's so many champions that he could go. Yes, I mean, Sivir
this is most likely a Sivir champion kind of lock coming. Could be Kaisa. I think it's interesting that we saw from Top Esports 2 top side bans with both the Mbessa and the Aatrox. Aatrox we haven't seen from Bin since MSI, and if we're talking about answers into this, either we're going to do a handshake and just pick something like a Cassante or an Ornn, or we're going to go for something a little, I guess, more in his bag. I don't know if we're looking at... I'm kind of thinking of what we could see here from Bin. I don't think this is a Renekton game.
I think it's got to be Bin Sante. I'm with you. I don't think Ornn brings up... I guess Ornn would bring enough space. I think they do have enough damage, so there's some argument for Ornn. But I feel like Ornn versus Kaisa versus Cassante versus Kaisa, I'd rather put Cassante there. And why I thought it was Kaisa is that the Aatrox, the Mbessa, those champs can actually deal with Kaisa. I do think it's a lot harder to deal with Kaisa with some other picks that could be available, because you just have to dash in, go in. We'll say Mordekaiser, I actually like a lot here.
Yeah,
removing the Scion, like, into Scion, it's more of a, like, okay, the 1v1, like, yes, Mordekaiser can win, but it's not like I'm going to murder the Scion over and over. It's more of a, hey, I can yoink him out of the fight, and that can be really important to win out on 4v4s. That's an angle that I can kind of see for Bin. I think taking Rumble into Scion nerfs a lot of the power of the Rumble.
It does.
And while they do have the Wombo, that really is BLG signing up and saying, all right, we have to win the top side early. Yunara might be able to save us late. But that's kind of a wait and see, because the execute from Top Esports between Azir, Kaisa, and then maybe a Rakan now over the top, it's going to be a tough game for this Yunara.
And I think the issue that we'll see here in this game, whether or not these two teams can execute upon, is are we going to see another top esports throw in the middle of the game? Because there's been so many games throughout this playoffs where we've seen top esports immediately skyrocket themselves into an early advantage, and then we come into mid-game, and I think some of the tools from BLG can really catch them off guard. I think of the invisibility from Aurora, the ability for On to even choose when and where he wants to find fights, could be important here for BLG.
Let's very quickly, though, gentlemen, before we dive into this game one, we need to throw up our final caster predictions of Split 3. If we can take a look at where everyone here at LPL English is favoring this matchup. And once again, awesome to see, guys. We are all across the board covering every single outcome.
It's free? I don't know. Top esports have looked better.
Favored. We're aligned.
Yeah.
Favored, yeah.
Slayer, we're aligned in 5 games as a team.
Yes, my logic here is this is exactly what I predicted the last time to try and will this to a 5-game series, and it was the exact prediction that was made. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it, guys.
Fair play. Well, fair play.
Well, we're going to have to see what happens when we dive in. I want to lead off on your point, Dimitri, about can top esports cleanly snowball this game from start to finish? Because going back into the series against BLG, I think they had a lead in 4 out of the 5 games at the 15-minute mark. And we have seen mistakes from top. I do think this is a team that plays at their best when Kanavi gets to run his game. That involves winning solo lanes, invading, getting up in the face of the enemy jungler, and trying to play from there. I do think the early game should be in the hands of top esports with the Sion and the Azir. We'll see if Kanavi can cash in with this team to make the most of it against Beishwan and BLG.
Bring me the grand finals, Split 3 Gyos, top esports, Bilibili Gaming.
All right, maybe game 2.
Game 2. You know, I see the energy, I just don't hear it, okay? That's why we have 5 senses, guys, okay? We can manifest the Gyos in more ways than one as we do hit the rift here for game 1. Already looking out early at some of these summoner choices coming across. JackeyLove going to respect the damage with the cleanse. As we always see in the LPL, a battle for those early wards. Kanavi and Creme do a good job protecting that Raptors pit so they can try and keep Kanavi a bit more protected. A guy who loves to just go for those full clears, get himself ahead, and then try to infect the map. So tracking him is going to be pivotal for BLG in this early phase.
I mean, we even saw top esports in that first series versus AL. Hold that. On's looking for something. Bit of traded JackeyLove.
Field's going to be used here for a bit of a speed up. Elk is going to get the 8 autos down and push out a ton of damage with that lethal tempo. So already a rough lane for this Kai'Sa. Gets a lot worse as another Zenith Blade going to land here from On. Lot of HP advantage being traded here by the BLG bottom lane. We're asking a lot of in this series.
I think the logic here is that Rakan can out-sustain, but
God, Elk,
he might have botched this early on. Yeah. Hong missed the second Q, and then the second Zenith Blade connecting is a mistake. I can see the first trade because you're signing up to have a health advantage over time. The second trade hitting is pretty tough. JackeyLove, though, I assume he's going to have the biscuits. He's going to pop the potion and try and stay because they fast pushed the wave, and frankly, he has to. We'll say Elk did miss out on the melee creep from all that.
Ooh, is he going to have to stay here? They don't know where Beishwan is, right? Like, he could be on the bottom side of the map and open up for 3.
Stun layers. Hong going to have to flash away from Elk. He takes a turret shot too early and gives JackeyLove the lane back. First blood over to the TES AD carry.
That's my goat right there. Thank you, JackeyLove and Hong. It was all an elaborate bait. Now he gets to bounce back on this wave. He gets all of this experience.
On's going to stay. That was so wild, though, because JackeyLove was waiting outside of vision. So when they dropped onto Hong, BLG thought that JackeyLove wasn't there. But why would Hong ever stick around if it was just going to be him there and no JackeyLove? I feel like it would be a team base with the HP he was at. So honestly, I feel like what's called in a way with JackeyLove sticking around. But I feel like BLG should be wary of that. Just take the fact you're crashing 2 waves against the enemy Kai'Sa. I don't think there's a world where Rakan sticks around if he doesn't have help in his back pocket there. So I feel like they could have just taken the small win. They tried to go for the big one and get critically punished as now. Like that bot lane, it's pretty much JackeyLove with it behind an XP, but he's got a Cole and can scale back in. It's not a disaster scenario for him. There was a world where he could have missed 2 waves, and now they're going to swap and actually get a wave that was frozen for JackeyLove. So he's fine this game.
This is great. This is awesome coming in for top esports. Not only, like you were saying, with the advantage there, now they're going to look to see if they can force bin away, get that teleport away from him. Let's see what On does on the redeploy here. Are they going to try and match this, or just say, kind of take the handshake going into the Scion? Kanavi even gets information on this topside jungle here, so this is a good opener coming in for Top Esports, preying on BLG's downfall.
They're freezing too. I mean, this is so dire. As okay, yeah, free sticks around. Yeah, they've got 5 creeps. I mean, this is really tough. Like, they have to bring up more and more resources to do this. Now, while that free's been going on, Elk has kept one of his own. Looking at the creeps there's a possibility that one could be broken, but I think this is a bigger win overall for JackeyLove and Hong, because any sort of advantage that Kai'Sa has, she could just use that to continuously jump on Yunara throughout this game. There are definitely tools in the team's arsenal to help enable that.
Now we get to see what does Kanavi look like off of a pretty untouched first clear. Already looking to impact the map. He's going to catch Bin and On too far forward. Layers the stun into the knockup beautifully. Bin immediately has to flash, but JackeyLove flies after him and gets the plasma stack to find the second kill of the game. Early game Kai'Sa, no problem for Top Esports.
JackeyLove has to invest the flash because he used a Void Seeker on a minion that steps in front of him. That could have saved him an extra summoner spell there. Still a kill going over to JackeyLove, and a great opener when we're talking about the fact that he's been holding this wave back, and finally Bin is going to use his teleport.
Yeah, I think it's still a great win for Top. I mean, once Kanavi walks into this lane, that's one on the gank. Bin and On were way too far up playing around the wall when that wave was there. So Kanavi, just with the walk on vision, doesn't even matter that he's on vision. He can take care of business. And Top Esports, I mean, they're off to a good start. And this one out, we were looking for them to continue these starts. And frankly, I think the only win that really we can argue for BLG is the fact that they is farming on the loot.
He's going to re-engage? Okay, they capitalize on Hong's HP. The thing I wanted to point out is we continue to pull back from this upper bracket showdown last time, that all this hecticness with the swap and the early bottom lane play is. When we saw Kanavi approach this series last time, it was constantly camping Knight, getting him uncomfortable early. With everything that's happened with the swaps, Knight has been able to stay relatively untouched on this Aurora and scale up like he does against so many matchups. So already you're seeing how TES have warped the series to a new style to try and take down BLG in Game 1.
Results-based analysis says that it didn't work last time, so we got to change it up this time. Navi is here in mid. Hong is as well going to show in mid and has teleport available, as does On. So let's see how these two supports are going to utilize this. Maybe they move forward, use their HP bar to kind of redeploy on the map.
I think it's just going to be grub focus. That's the big warning that we've had throughout this patch in playoffs in the LPL. Feels like the only way these early dragons are being taken is if it's uncontested before the 8-minute mark. Besides that, grubs are the priority objective for all these teams, just given what you can do with pretty much the 5 minutes that you get grubs and plates being up. So I expect to see Top Esports try and play for that. 369 has preserved his teleport, whereas Bin doesn't have his. As long as 369 stays bot, they should be able to play this with a numbers advantage, whether it's the ult from Scion or the TP coming in, or both. They want to find the fight. And BLG, I just don't think they have the strength or an answer to this one early on. So I'm expecting a trade of the Dragons and kind of a go from there scenario. As, like, yes, Rumble could have a lot of strength this fight, but he didn't go for the mask, was able to get that one early. I feel like if you want the fight, you go mask, whereas if you want to play for the lane...
H1 has that knockup. He's going to flash right on JackeyLove. The stuns layer beautifully. 2 big flashes committed, but JackeyLove is finally cut down. H1 layering his effect on this game early.
So good punish, right? They're able to get JackeyLove over the flash down, but look at the timer of when that play is called. JackeyLove should be able to be back out on the map for the grub fight itself. And now you're down Wukong ult, you're down Yunara ult. I think that's just very telling that BLG, they know they don't want to take the grubs, but they could take that kill. So they do take down JackeyLove and just going to get a plate for Elk, and that's it. So I expect grubs to be fully in the hands of Kanavi here. Okay answer from BLG, but I think very telling of where the game's at. The fact they went for that play and that timer.
They're going to start this? What are we doing?
No, this is their only defense. They have to try and tickle it and delay it.
Yeah, but Scion's moving. Bin's never going to be here. They're going to see Scion cross through mid now. This is a hard ask, I think. And now BLG, they could have taken this a lot earlier. They should have backed off a lot sooner than this.
I think that's fine. Like, the only defense you have there, they're never going to play it. You're tickling it to try and delay the timer and buy bin time. I think that where Top played it, like, that's fine. I'm not surprised they tickled it. They were never really trying to start it for real. They just took one. I think they backed off on time. It's okay. They at least got the kill. They can get back. I don't think it's dire. So, yeah.
One of the things that has inspired confidence about BLG in these playoffs that we were able to talk about a little bit the last time we saw this matchup is BLG as a team this year consistently disrespecting their opponents, over-aggressing for those grub fights. So to see them kind of cautionarily back up, recognize they don't have those ultimates, still seeing that sort of different style that BLG showed in that 5-game series last time. It's good to see because I know what you're going to say, but if they went back to the ways of disrespecting their opponents and flipping games early, we won't be here very long. So that's not happening.
We got 4 more games potentially for that to still happen. That could still come true. And still no dragons being taken. I know you were talking about it earlier, Cubby, about where we can find a window for either of our teams to take these dragons. I think it's important, though, that BLG tries to stop TES from getting any of these objectives, because if you get 3 grubs and you're also able to get dragon stacking, you're in a world of hurt. You're asking for trouble if you're Bilibili.
Yeah, again, I just think it's sadly kind of the reality of the game right now, given the swaps that we had. Azir is able to keep Prio into Aurora. That matchup might start to turn a little bit once Aurora gets the Leandries, but honestly, it's just pretty easy to survive that one. And yeah, I mean, for BLG, I think that they could have traded out for the Dragon, but instead they opted for the kill on the JackeyLove. I just think that's very telling because they view that as defense for Yunara later on. Because that if Kai'Sa gets big, and this is where LPL Kaisas are so scary, and what LPL as a region I think is very good at, which is dive. I remember when Smolder came out, Smolder was like viewed as just unanimously OP. It was like sub 50% win rate in the LPL because people were just playing Kai'Sa into it and diving it. And that's kind of the same theory of what you do into Yunara, right? When you take this Kai'Sa pick. So I feel like BLG, I think just says a lot about where they view the game is at. The fact that they're going to take that kill onto Kai'Sa instead of playing for the Dragon, instead of playing for grubs. And they really need to buy time. Because I think their best defense is going late, where they could have a 3-threat comp versus a 2-threat comp. And that's where BLG, the damage might slingshot back.
Yeah, this lane assignment is pretty interesting to me. We have Creme teleporting immediately towards bottom side. It's going to open up a dragon here for top esports. Knight can end up answering it, but Beichuan's nowhere near the objective, and it seems like, as we were talking about, BLG are more focused on getting gold for themselves now so that they can approach some of these fights in a few minutes' time with maybe half an item to an item advantage.
Big thing, to look for as well, the TES. I want to see them capitalize on. You guys talked endlessly about the grubs. The sieging threat that Creme brings with this Azir and the global threat of a Pantheon. I want to see them prioritize some of these turrets, opening more of the map up so that Kanavi can play the map from a more global standpoint and threaten these side lanes like you're talking about. Make sure Knight isn't left alone.
I think that's a good call out. We haven't seen that Grand Starfall yet. And it's about time that we see Kanavi kind of get on the map. When you're playing with Sion, with the Pantheon, you can play the map so quickly and find a numbers advantage. And the one thing about the lane assignments right now is that the Azir into Rumble is a very good matchup for Azir. You can see Creme getting a couple plates for himself, but I want to see an overload here. You have 2 minutes until plates expire. Use the Sion ult. Use the Pantheon ult. Try and get extra numbers in a lane and force that first brick, because if you do, you get 1 kill with that. That speaks in a real advantage for the rest of the game.
I wonder if they just feel safe, like comfortable almost from top esports, and we would want to see them kind of push their objective lead, but you already have an Azir who's up 10, 20 CS here. We're now having Sion ult this bottom lane wave. I wonder if top esports are trying to invite BLG to do something, because they know BLG eventually are going to get antsy and they're going to try and make a play on one side, and they'll have things like either the TP from 369 or even the Pantheon ult.
I think On showing there was actually quite bad. I don't know if he has access to Spellbook TP.
No, he will not.
That could be the start of like, hey, we just saw this support. He still has to reset. You can check his inventory. Didn't have wards up. Okay, I say that, and Hong started on, on the recall too. I don't think it's as much as of a top is scared. I just think the top is staying disciplined in terms of the timer that they want, right? Like, them not pushing for Pantheon right then and there, they still had the reset after the Dragon take. Now they have reset, they have a minute left, and now I'm a little bit surprised that the game has slowed down this much. Because for me, this is the timer that they want, but the recalls were a little bit split up, and they weren't able to find a play in sync across the map here. Has been smart ult from him. Just going to delete the wave, take away any chance for a play with the second to last wave before plays are gone.
We talked about it endlessly the last time these two teams matched up. You heard all allude to it a little bit earlier. TES consistently found those early game leads. The mid game is where things got wary. That was no more evident than game one, probably one of the biggest throws of that series, because they didn't have the scaling to lean on. This is a much different comp, and why I enjoy that patience.
look bot. They're going to have JackeyLove catch this wave. 369 just proxied the last one. Oh, they were maybe looking onto Bin, but now 369 is going to walk up. He's spotted on a well-placed ward from BLG. So none of these ults used before plates drop. When Top has 3 grubs, I feel like that's a missed opportunity with the strength that Top has in their comp and on the map right now with those 3 grubs showing in their inventory.
They're going to have all of their items here. We'll see what the recall here for JackeyLove. I still think you're just... We saw a little bit of a preview that Elk, as soon as he has all these Unleash stacks, he can take the fight to JackeyLove, even if they are on similar items. And now we're walking up to a Herald that's in 45.
Oh, still gets scooped by the Emperor's Divide. Kanavi comes in with the Grand Starfall. Knight's going to have to get pretty tricky to get out of this one, and he will. Between worlds, flashed over the wall, and just like that, not using everything, but does survive.
I thought that could have been played better by Top Esports as the first ult from Kanavi goes wayward. All they get is Knight's flash. Knight very, very well placed between worlds to get out of there, and a well-timed hop as he buffered the W from Pantheon to get through. But if that ult's placed better by Kanavi, or, you know, they actually walk towards or try and threaten his only escape route, they could have trapped him on that side of the map. I feel like that's a miss from Top, as a kill there would have been another step towards Feats, and that's, I think, a pretty big missed opportunity from these guys.
Does BLG just go to rip this in 3 seconds? Because 369 is most likely going to have to teleport for this play. BLG will have priority from mid and from top lane right now. Bin can teleport if he really needs to, but honestly, he should just stay for this wave. Take the turret, take your objective that you finally are able to grab for yourself, and BLG finally find an avenue here in this game 1.
Now they can threaten with that ultimate advantage. I think the fact you don't have Emperor's Divide, no Grand Starfall, it takes a lot of the oomph out of that TES comp. So the Rift Herald will be grabbed here. And now, first brick is a much more intriguing conversation. Cubby, you talked about the grubs. You like to see Top Esports capitalize in that aspect. But Fates want to immediately drop this Herald top, and BLG are going to backdoor this first brick that we thought was all TES.
This has been some good restraint shown by BLG. I do think that there was a miss on that top play from Top Esports, but honestly, a decent lesson for folks from home in terms of the timings that you take fights and how the best teams in the world can punish, right? We saw 2 teams throw out ultimates right before big objective spawn. Neither of those teams were even able to contest because those plays, I mean, one worked out, one didn't, but the big tools were used, and that's more important for the objective setup.
Elk gonna get caught on a mid-wave. This is a Freaky Friday reverse from the upper bracket. JackeyLove routinely punished last time. Now Elk wearing that coat.
No protection in mid, only has wards on the top side here, so I think we should have just seen Elk either invest immediately the Conmay steps to drive out of it. It's going to be the second Dragon going over to Top Esports. I can't imagine BLG are going to be looking for a response. More likely than not, just either maybe they look to squeeze onto Creme and get him away from this wave so that Knight can get closer to a second item.
Ocean Soul going to hit the Rift here for game number 1. Provides maybe not as much value as you would have liked with a Hextech or Infertile for a comp with a ton of damage, but nonetheless, or 2 damage comp, excuse me. But nonetheless, it is still a powerful win con that TES are going to look to play for. And, well, a lot of you at home in your solo queue game should also look to play for, and you can learn that from the best, the pros themselves. That's why we want to quickly shout out our sponsor. Well, after this cinematic replay, we really had to go all out just to find this this kill on Elk. I mean, it's grand finals, guys. We got to go all out.
Slayer, I liked it. There is not much to talk about there. That was a flash and a point-and-click stun into a good chain from Hong. But that's fine. Get back to the pro diff, though.
Yeah.
Where are you at there, Slayer?
Prodiff.gg. You use our code LPL10 to learn from some of the best in the NACL, ERLs, and even the LTA to play like the pros. So we very much enjoy that sponsor. Thank you, Prodiff.
All right, well, what I was going to talk about was the fact that Top Esports had moved all their vision into the bottom side before that Dragon. Now it is BLG trying to move their Dragon or their vision line up a little bit. Otacon is on the opposite side of the map in 2 minutes right now, so really pivotal for them, in my mind, to try to find a summoner spell. Maybe JackeyLove steps up on this mid wave a little too high, or they can make a play on this bottom side and catch out Creme, who's pushing out another wave.
TP going to come down to this bot side. With Knight already nearby, it's just going to be on. But him showing on this top side, definitely big here if Hong can get access to that unsealed spellbook to play towards that Otacon on the top side. That just means so much in pro play. Everyone talks about the Baron, Elder Dragon, but in the LPL, Otacon is where tons of games have been won and lost.
Yeah, kind of nice for On to have an Ocean Rift there as he TP'd in and lost half his health to Creme. on the punch. BLG might look to play quickly. They're going to contest this.
Kanavi can engage first. Defensive Cyclone. They're going to land the Solar Flare, but the knockups are coming through with H1. And Kanavi cannot hold the shield up any longer. Unstoppable Sean Slug going to come over the wall. But JackeyLove dashing after Elk. Flashes away from another stun, but he doesn't have enough damage at this point in the game. Too early for the heroics from JackeyLove. But they're going to look for a potential collapse here onto Creme now. Throws up his own turret. Equalizer down. Creme trying to buy space here using his frontline tank, 369, to give him all the benefits. Hong going to TP back in, and now BLG are caught in a very weird spot. Knockups are going to start to layer onto him, and they re-engage onto Creme, but without a Cyclone, Beitwa's just going in, trying to pump out the damage. Eats another big decimating smash, and BLG have to let TES walk out of this bot lane.
They're buying time. Elk's going to take a brick mid, but I don't agree with that fight from top esports at all. I know that 369 was trying to rotate with the ultimate, but those conditions were not there for them. It is the Trinity Force finish on this Wukong. Beishwan has done a nice job of making sure that he just is farming throughout this one. As Kanavi tried to look for a fish mid with his ultimate, and I mean, so far, Kanavi hasn't done enough yet with his Pantheon pick to really warrant it, and the Wukong's going to take back over as we take another look at this fight. It's the Ignite to get the shield off of Han, but they threw everything down to Leona, and they really just can't connect. Like, the damage that they focused down was onto the wrong target, whereas Kanavi was the pure focus. He gets smoked. I think they really want this fight. 369 could have taken the low road to that. They could have cut him off and then played for Creme, but Creme was disconnected from everyone, trying to take a 1v1 with Knight. I feel like maybe if Creme could join or set up, or if 369 was there on time, it could be okay, but not even close to being okay from top esports as they kind of go in disconnected, and the tankier Leona tanks up everything and just wins out of the skirmish.
We also were fighting a Yunara that had 2 items, had Kraken Slayer and Runons before that fight, and JackeyLove was still on 1.5. I think it's a desperate take to a fight to look there, and even afterwards, we saw Kanavi thinking that Elk was going to overstay in mid or take a bit of a greedier recall in the middle of the lane. Now they have to come back. They've lost their top tier 1. They've lost their mid tier 1. We'll see how BLG can kind of push the lead right now. It's only just under 1,000 gold here, but there is a lot of summoner spells missing, and Otacon we have seen be the most influential objective on the map.
Seen a lot of teams kind of grieve for it a little bit too. I think there's a real discussion about the flowers and how much you get out of them. So look at the top of your screen here. You can see 17-6 in the flower count for top versus BLG.
Whoa, hello.
We can pick up a significant amount. It's worth it. And BLG at least going to start it, which will be spotted by JackeyLove. Creme going to drop the turret, but doesn't know that Knight is waiting for him.
Kanavi's not here.
Yeah, BLG don't have to worry about Kanavi, but the resistances being cut down on BLG are going to be a main factor. Kanavi showing up late. Below 5 KHP is the Otacon. All going to try and hold the front line, but they don't want to 50-50 it with Kanavi, and everyone, like they're at an awkward middle school dance, just standing around waiting for someone to start the action. It's Hog that's going for the engage. Kanavi tries to flash in and steal it, but it's Beitwan that secures the Otacon. 369 on the back line, can't get to Elk. He transcends and starts dumping damage into the TES tank. BLG get a kill and an Otacon back as they climb back into this game 1.
I don't know what that objective retake from Top Esports was, but I don't ever want to see it again if this is the series we're going to have between these two teams. I mean, Kanavi tries to make a steal with that Comet Sphere, doesn't end up making it work, and you have a 2-item Kaisa, but she can never hit Creme as well. Nowhere near there to deal damage.
Yeah, I'm a bit flabbergasted at that fight from Top Esports. Like, they need tools to try and close the gap between the Scion, the Pantheon, and the Rakana. They don't have them. And the way that they go in and take this, I mean, yes, I mean, On gets kind of one-tapped as, the Q smite from Beishwan connected. I don't think Kanavi got his smite off successfully. And that Rumble ult, look at Creme getting stuck between the Between Worlds and the Equalizer. He couldn't get into auto attack as Knight just dropped a beautiful ultimate that bought his team the space needed. As this circle a little bit better than what Top Esports were able to throw out in top. I mean, they have to do a better job of closing the gap if they want to play this one out, because this is a game, I know that you have Azir, you have Kaisa, but it's 2 threats against 3 threats. And we have seen a lot of Rumble games where, yes, he gets that pressure early, but if you go really late, he brings so much damage to the table that eventually Scion can't deal with that one either. Or the rest of the team can't deal with that one either. So I really feel like Top is kind of on the clock. They got the soul point, but that's really the saving grace for what the game state is, because it's a BLG favored game.
Ocean Soul Point could be such a pivotal win con here for Top Esports. And like we heard Cubby talk about earlier, TES showing that they still prefer this dive. But really, it all starts and finishes with Kanavi, who has had just such a quiet game one for a guy who was taking over this series not too long ago.
That is true. I do want to make a pivot, though. I think that Creme on this Azir has done his job when it comes to making sure he gets to 2 items, getting himself the golden experience. But when we talk about that soul, he needs to show up for this team.
Ooh, hold on. TS are going to TP in Creme. Zon looks for the re-engage. Kanavi holding onto that Grand Starfall. Redemption's going to come down. Charm onto On. Han going to get himself back out as BLG has to use the Cyclone to buy himself space. TP comes through for Bilibili. Immediately has to flash away from 4 members of top esports. Some rusty league from both of our teams. And everyone walks away blowing tons of ults and summoners.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like Hong kind of missed out on finding a lot more. I don't know if he had flash up for that fight or not, but the second Cyclone from Beishwan canceled Rakan's, like, it was during the quickness, so he couldn't find the re-engage on the Beishwan in the back half. I think the Beishwan did a decent job of playing his way out of that. Bin's TP did cost him the flash too. It is something to look out for, as no flashes were used there by top esports, whereas On and Bin don't have their flash available moving forward. So a target for top esports to look at. They're the ones that have to close the gap in this game. So a flashless member is definitely going to be good targets for them.
Big spike as we go into this next fight. Obviously, with Bin losing both of his summoner spells, Creme is also not going to be able to match. We're going to have Baron spawning here. If not, there's a fight in 2.5 minutes, and I'm going to be looking at our 2 AD carries again. Elk just now finishing the Infinity Edge, and JackeyLove getting closer to what looks to be potentially a Nashor's Tooth, but could be super important, especially with how close this game has been and the Dragon count that top esports has been holding.
Love to see the JackeyLove going for that Nashor's. We've seen a lot of iterations of this Kai'Sa into a non-tanky comp, just maximizing that damage and trying to get as much poke down before he flies in. JackeyLove in these playoffs has had some questionable lane assignments, questionable waves taken, but one thing has remained true across most of this playoffs. When you get into these later game stages, when you give JackeyLove enough time, enough items, this guy can play out team fights better than any other this league can see. Can TES get him to that point and support him like we haven't seen them do for the past 10 to 15 minutes?
Well, we came into this draft saying, well, how are BLG ever going to threaten this backline? And we've been talking about the 2 threat versus 3. And so far, what we've seen from these 2 teams is top esports cannot break the front line. They can find ways to get damage onto either Elk or Knight. And by the time that happens, the team fight's already over.
Yeah, I mean, their way to threaten is really with the range, right? Whether it's Equalizer and then that between worlds. And we haven't seen top. I don't think they've done a good job of taking control of these objectives early on.
No.
To force BLG to walk in, again, they have a range gap. When you look at the characters at BLG versus top, you got to close the gap if you're going to be effective as a Cyan or a Pantheon. And we haven't really seen them be able to do that consistently. I think some of that is the objective setup. Now, this is where top esports, I think it's a strength of theirs. Like, overall, I think their objective setup is usually decent. And we'll see. I mean, they can hard commit for this soul that is going to be up in less than a minute. As BLG, they don't have control over the bot side, so they're going to start to threaten this top side to try and pull top esports up. But this can be dangerous.
We need to fight now as BLG. We need to force them into the pit so we can get stuff for that Dragon.
Trying to put Elk on a pedestal with those 3 items. They're going to use the Redemption as they're taking a lot of damage from Baron, much below half HP, but BLG seem a little bit wary trying to ever start this. TS can engage with the snap of a finger. Kanavi trying to stay out of vision to look for a great Grand Starfall angle, and the threat of that takes away the Baron play.
It's not just that, it's the fact that JackeyLove hit 3 items. He has W evolved, so these Void Seekers are doing a pretty good number on the BLGs. Another one connects onto On. I think he's got it. It's not quite the Nashers, but I'm seeing these W's come out fast. Of course, you get the cooldown back after you connect with them.
It's
and
evolved,
Jackie, like, the fact that he's able to get some of this poke out, we're now looking at an Ocean Soul for free over to top esports. They're going to melt this, and BLG are giving. That's significant because top's going to fight on good conditions now for the rest of the game with Ocean Soul. BLG is going to try and rip this, but Creme can do a lot of damage in defense.
Are we just giving a Baron for Soul? All right, sure.
All right, but look at that.
They can't get it.
Yeah, Creme's
they
there
can't
for defense. Well managed by top. Really well managed by top.
The threat of those Sand Soldiers was massive. There's just so much damage that can come over that wall. Creme just mogged BLG off of the Baron. And now we have an Ocean Soul on TES, opening up a ton of more avenues. That huge win count that TES needed to lean on has come online.
Look, I felt like BLG just got completely stuck there, because even pulling the Baron, you're a squishy team, and they didn't have On tanking it. I feel like only On of this team can really tank a Baron. Beishwan kind of, but those are your 2 people that need to find angles, and that Baron pull was just it felt completely flat. There was no attempt.
Oh, Cyclone. JackeyLove gets back out. Hongu doing a good job protecting him. Here comes the Grand Solver from Kanavi, looking to re-engage on a bait one. Kanavi looks for the flash execute, but doesn't get it. Goes through the W. Unstoppable onslaught. Does 369 want to go under the turret? No, that tier 1 turret getting a ton of value for BLG as they look to return with the equalizer. But they can't connect onto any of those low HP members.
Damn, I mean, we talked about it before. The Baron setup wasn't great. They lost access to the Redemption, and then On is just getting absolutely obliterated by all of these Void Seekers coming in from JackeyLove. So now, Top Esports are not going to only win a fight, they're going to get the Dragon and steal the Baron away from their opponents. BLG, this game has been back and forth.
And look, I mean, Ocean Soul, I think, is way bigger for Top Esports than what it would be for BLG. Because we're talking about them being outranged, right? You're going to ideally eat damage from Aurora, eat damage from Rumble. Well, none of that damage, if none of that can stick, and you're always fighting on good conditions, like if you're a front to back comp, one of the hardest things can be getting your conditions to be good. Look at Top
right here, right?
Here. I don't mind this look from BLG. I think that Beishuan, if they can't find everything out of JackeyLove, does a nice job of being slippery, Hong, able to get a double quickness done. Like even Kanavi, he whips everything to kill Beishuan. Has to use all of his skills to hit it. Like think if he saves that W for Bin, that guy's dead as hell. Like he had to use everything on the Wukong, right? So Beishuan played that as slippery as he could. That should have been worse for BLG. But I don't know how BLG can find the fight they want staring down at Ocean Soul now.
Their focus was also just split. Like Leona ult is going on to Creme. That was the best chance they would have had to kill JackeyLove there. Now they get Yunara ult out as well. So these next 2 minutes still really empowered here for BLG and or for TES. And remember, they're the team that got 3 grubs, so they can just muscle their way through this bottom side and force BLG away.
Looking to flex at the red buff as here comes 369 to get the knock-up onto Bin. Between worlds comes across. Can Knight find an angle in though? Kanavi's trapped on the back of the red buff pit, but all TS are fine. And Creme can push the Sand Soldiers back forward. Bin's far too low. Stasis doesn't matter. He'll fall as JackeyLove gets back on the board. And TS send all caution to the wind, flying under the turrets knowing they are much stronger, much more powerful, looking for the game 1 win. And those 4 kills might just seal it.
I think one of the biggest difference makers when you play a front to back, having Azir as a carry. We talked about the 3 threats versus 2. I know Top Esports is up now, but Creme pumped out so much damage in that fight. Really helped open up that angle for JackeyLove to find in the back half because the front line was shredded by that Azir. And man, I think that the big mistake for BLG looking back, we talked about the draft, we didn't love it. Letting that Azir through, not first picking that, taking Yunara instead. I gotta question that one else, because we've seen Azir just run playoffs.
That's just game 1.
Yeah, I mean, the death timers are long enough. TES feels strong enough. Grubs, everything in their hands. TES, a team that was marred by throwing mid-games against BLG to lose the upper bracket, polish off their mid-game, and take game 1 of our grand finals.
Wow, I mean, the gold graph after this is going to be so close. Like, it felt like, for the most part, no team really got out to a massive, massive lead early.
It was a non-LPL gold graph for sure. I think the big difference, though, for me, Creme got the Azir. Again, this was the pick that Knight went to in Game 4 when BLG was down 2, when they swapped out junglers to put Shadow in to really single-handedly just crush Top Esports in that game of the upper bracket final. Now, Creme plays the Azir. He gets it on red side, ends up, I think, carrying the game in the end. I think giving away Azir like that and not taking the Talia trade, that's going to make the rest of this series so interesting. I mean, how many games have we seen, or series have we seen in the playoffs where we have not seen A, Azir get through, and B, seen Azir not traded with Talia? I think that really is going to change how the rest of the series goes, and some of these mid matchups and priorities, I'm sure our desk can hit on it too, but that was a real surprise for me looking back, seeing the Yunara prioritized over the Azir, and then Azir again, I think he makes the 2 versus 3 threat comp kind of work because the damage you can pack behind a Scion, there's no way you can match Azir's DPS if he's allowed to stand and fire. Creme found the fight with Ocean Soul where he could do just that, and Top Esports won the game.
We've been asking all year long, can Top Esports return to their split 1 form through their great macro play? That's the advantage our desk really gave them in this matchup. I'm sure a lot of the predictions did as well. So through game 1, as we go back towards our analyst desk, my question for you all is that the TES we saw win split 1, guys?
Welcome back to the analyst desk for this grand finals. Mazel, K-Man, Rude Dude here, and what a whirlwind. Top Esports seemingly grabbing the momentum from yesterday's win and just full frontal assaulting BLG, it felt like. A couple questionable decisions there for sure, but I definitely want to start with you, K-Man. Your first thoughts on how Top Esports came out of the gun swinging, at least. Somehow that works in some way for this game number 1.
I think we saw a couple of really good parts of Top Esports in that game. Maybe some questionable bits in the middle, but
you saying you said something about like something you guys can learn. Like
No, that was
use
Cubby.
their,
That was
the
Cubby.
timer-
That was
or
Cubby.
Cubby,
I
yeah,
thought that
Cubby,
was going to
yeah.
be our time to go for it.
Oh,
Oh,
look at this. That's not an LPL goal.
consistently throughout the entirety of this best of 5, because what we saw here might not have been the cleanest, but it certainly was pretty darn good.
And I think that, looking at that gold graph that the cast was talking about it specifically, you can kind of see how this game was pretty darn straight and narrow, no real advantages on either side, and then all of a sudden, Top Esports won, right? This was a very close run thing, and we'll look into some of those highlights a little bit later on, but we've got our own sort of things that we want to point out as we get later on into this. And I mean, the LPL did kind of do Elk a little bit dirty if they run the rerun of the cinematic for that kill that they found mid lane.
Oh god, you gotta love when the directed cam starts coming up here. But it was a very bold situation for BLG to find themselves in. I think losing control of that bottom side and all those dragons definitely didn't help them out. We did see some of their quote-unquote hands-checking moments where they're just kind of forcing the hand of Top Esports. Luckily, Top Esports were able to answer in kind so many times, but this has been a way that BLG has been approaching games, especially in their last couple series here, Rude.
Yeah, we got them to the final, so we have to give them a little bit of, good graces with that, but equally, it cost them 2 games in their last series up against TES. It's definitely a point of contention as we view them and how we look at their performances through this series and into what is now, the grand finals. This is that final showcase for them. Before we send them off to that international, they've already locked their spot. It's a case of, for BLG, seeing if they can get their hands on the Silver Dragon Cup or not.
Yeah, I think, we can be direct.